Hello, beautiful people. Susan Varuso here from New Orleans Health and Healing Center in Metairie, Louisiana, just outside of the beautiful city of New Orleans. And I am here with Jennifer Williams, who is having great success with Doc of Detox nutraceuticals that we have here and whole life health coaching. And she is excited to share her testimony with you all. So, Jennifer, I'm going to let you explain to people how you got started and share your story.
Okay. So I got started back in March of 2025. My stepfather was diagnosed with stage 4 inflammation, which they call cancer, in his lungs, lymph nodes, and brain. And we had decided early on, look, we're not going to do chemo. We're not going to go to the traditional doctor and that route. So I knew I wanted to find an alternative method to heal him. And, I was looking into detox and just doing all kinds of research online. And I came across Doc of Detox, Darrell Wolfe. And I started listening to some of his videos, and it was like immediately it just rang true within me, like in my spirit. Like I knew, what he was saying was just making sense. It was just ringing true to me.
Logical, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So we started off, I had bought my stepdad the fulvic nano drops and the black gold. And my stepfather was having floaters in his eyes really bad, and it was like dizzy and cloudy. So I started by giving him the drops 3 times a day in his eyes, and within 2 weeks, the floaters were gone.
And floaters are from brain inflammation, right? So it's pulling out heavy metals, toxins, parasites from the brain, which shows up in the eyes.
Mm-hmm. So at that point, I was like, wow, like these, did incredible for him. I need to start doing this for me because I wanted to start taking control of my health and detox and just, so I started using the black gold and the fulvic nano drops on myself. Well, 2 months later, I had an eye doctor appointment. It was like the yearly visit or whatever. And after the eye exam, the doctor was just kind of sitting there baffled, flipping back and forth through paperwork. And I'm like, is everything okay? And she's like, well, not really. She's like, I don't understand what's going on. She said, last year when you were here, she's like, you had baby cataracts that we were going to probably set up to get, your eyes lasered or whatever to get them off. And she's like in astigmatism really badly. And she's like, and that's not present in your eyes right now.
Threw her for a loop, right?
I know. Threw me for a loop too.
Right,
because
sure.
I wasn't in my mind. I wasn't piecing together. Like you've been using these fulvic nano drops 3 times a day. Something's happening.
Right. For a couple months, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, on the way home, it kind of hit me and I'm like, wait, I'm like, wow, like this is working. So at that point I knew, I said, look, within myself, I'm like, look, if this worked, I'm like, I bet you every product works. Mm-hmm. So at that point I reached out to Susan and I'm like, hey, look, this is what happened with my eyes. And I'm like, have you ever heard of this guy, Dr. Darrell Wolfe? And Susan's like, yes, because you had already done, I think, whole life coaching.
Whole life health coaching and then the Wolfe non-surgical bodywork course, yeah.
Yeah, and so then you were like, you need to set up a perfect day consultation with me. Well, I had moved to Ohio, so I set up a virtual visit with you so we could discuss the perfect day lifestyle. Because for me, I didn't, just like most people, you buy nutraceuticals or people buy supplements,
right.
And you expect them to fix you just like everything else. We live in a society of like right now. So, I'm thinking, okay, I'm just going to buy everything and take everything and not do anything else. Like this is going to work. And so Susan, during that consultation, kind of said like, well, Jennifer, like, what are you eating? And I'm like, and the great thing about it is she met me right where I was. Like I didn't feel like I had to hide anything. And plus she already knows me. When I've been stressed in the past, I'm going to get a whole cheesecake and eat the whole thing. And that's not just an exaggeration. I'll eat the whole thing in one sitting. A gallon of ice cream in one sitting. And so Susan's like, let's work on your diet. Let's talk about your diet. And you were talking to me about the plant-based ketogenic diet. And for me, like in my mind, I'm like, I can't give up the sugar because that, like, I mean, growing up, like I grew up on sugar and, so that was a challenge for me. I was scared and because that was always the one thing I could go to, I'm stressed.
It's an addiction, right?
Sugar.
Yeah, I mean, it turns on the receptor sites in our brain like heroin and cocaine do. So it's a true addiction. It's not easy to stop. Yeah.
And then you also spoke to me about, loving yourself unconditionally, right? And I'm like,
first, right?
I'm like, what does that even mean? And regulating your stress and your sleep. There's so many pieces of this puzzle, right? It's not just one thing. The nutraceuticals are amazing, but without all of the other things, it's not going to work. And, you were telling me, what you put in is what you're going to get out. And so, I was like, I need to get all in with this. Like, if I'm going to do this, I need to do it right, and I believe that, we can heal ourselves. I believe that the bodies can heal. I don't, buy the garbage that the doctors are selling us. And so we started with that. I bought the Black Gold, the Black Diamond, the Structured Water Unit, the Daily Cleansing Tea. And I think I started there and, I started feeling better overall, especially like I've always had issues in my life with using the bathroom. There were times in my life where I didn't go for a month at a time. My belly was always bloated. I could not go.
Right.
Well, when I started doing everything, and especially the Daily Cleansing Tea, I just started using the bathroom. And, the amount of stuff coming out was like, wow.
And these three products are like, I say, the foundational nutraceuticals, right? Because the Black Gold and Black Diamond, what they are, a combination of humic fulvic acid, right? That's been in our soil in the past for forever. And it's very depleted, very difficult to have. It's not in our soil anymore. So we don't have the nutrients in our food like we used to. So it's in a form that our body can take in. And the Black Diamond is a nanoparticle, right? And it goes past the blood-brain barrier. It goes into your cells and your blood, and it helps normalize your pH, your hormones. It pulls out 300 to 400% of its weight in heavy metals, toxins, parasites. It drops off over 70 micronutrients. And you just put it in water and you don't even taste it, whereas the Black Gold does everything the same that I just said, but this works from your mouth to your rectum, right? Your digestive tract and your liver and your kidney. And then Jennifer mentioned the Daily Cleansing Tea that works on all your detox organs and your lymph system. So, we learn, a lot of natural doctors tell you to detox 3 to 4 times a year. What are you doing the other 361 days out of the year? Waiting to become toxic again to detox? So we want to get our terrain healthy and keep it healthy and do gentle baby steps every day. And that's where Jennifer started.
Yes. And after that, I think from there, we added in the Perfect Day, the multi, right, the Ocean Essentials.
Which are omega-3s.
Oh, those are amazing.
Yeah,
and
they're
then
actually made from seal, which is mammal, which really digests well with our body. Really good for absorption, like over 400% absorption in fish oil.
And the curcumin cayenne and the Beyond Ormus electrolyte minerals.
Right.
And that really changed things for me because, just being dehydrated. I mean, look, I was drinking a gallon of water a day, but it wasn't hydrating me.
Well, it wasn't getting into her cells like structured water does, yeah.
So, I mean, because at first when I got the structured water unit, I was like, what is this going to do? And it's amazing the difference, drinking structured water and then putting the minerals in the water. And so it's all pieces of the puzzle.
Right.
And so the next step that we did was Susan was like, okay, Jennifer, I want you to start doing a 21-day coffee enema.
Ultimate coffee.
Yes. And I'm thinking, wait, I got to do this for 21 days? And go back a little bit, I had hepatitis C for 20 years, which, went over into cirrhosis. So I've always had liver issues. So when you were explaining to me how that was really going to detox my liver and help things out, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm doing it for 21 days. Like, I'm going to do this.
And it started with the large intestine, right? And that went to the liver from there because it's that domino effect. You want to start with your large intestine with the ultimate coffee enema, then you have the hepatic portal vein that will go from the liver to the liver from there. So yeah, the results are incredible with that.
Oh yeah, the coffee. Once I started the 21-day ultimate coffee enema, that's like I really started noticing things shifting with the way that I felt, like my energy. Because I'd wake up, super early, and then by noon just be exhausted in one way or another,
Right.
just pushing myself. And I noticed that started to change. I started having more energy. Like the, fogginess that I had here and there, brain fog or whatever, that was lifted. I did feel emptied out, even though I was using the bathroom almost sometimes 3 times a day after meals, or if I ate twice a day after meals, I still kind of felt like I wasn't completely cleaned out.
And a lot of people will tell me that I go every day or I even go twice a day, but just because you do doesn't mean everything you put in is coming out, right?
Yeah, we have years and years of stuff in there. And so about a week into doing the coffee enema, I remember like one day I go and I just got finished peeing, and I get up and I happen to look in the toilet and I'm like, there's a huge parasite in the toilet. And, that's what's great about having a practitioner that you can just call, and discuss these things with, no judgment or whatever. So I took a picture of it and I sent it to Susan text message, and I'm like, look what just came out of me. And so you were like, you're probably loaded with those things, and just, even with the intense sugar cravings that I would have, I didn't piece it together. Like, this is what's going on, even though you always said, Jennifer, you're feeding your bugs. And I'm just like, whatever.
Right.
But I mean, it's so true. And so the next thing that happened a week after that, same kind of thing. I went to pee and I felt something drop out, and I'm like, what? And I get up and there's a huge worm in the toilet, and I'm like, oh, take a picture of it, send it to Susan. Look what just came out of me. And after the 21 days were over with, it was kind of like, I was a little sad because I really enjoyed doing them, because I just felt so empty, full of energy. I mean, I just noticed it's really, really good.
And after that, you do them as needed, like maybe 2 to 3 times a week, once or twice a week, but you don't totally stop, right? You just kind of listen to your body because you become more in tune with your body.
Yes. And also, since I've been, doing the coffee enemas, I haven't had migraines at all. That coupled with everything else and the Avicen machine, the migraines totally went away. So after the coffee enema, I'm trying to think what else I went to from there. I think that, since then we've been working more on my diet,
Right.
getting...
Jennifer's goal is to get to the watermelon cleanse, the grape cure cleanse, and then the ultimate 6-day water fast.
Yes.
That's our next step. But she's definitely following the plant-based ketogenic diet, feeling better, putting high vibrational, high frequency food in her body, right, to help with healing. Because when we eat high vibrational food, drink high frequency water, and have high frequency thoughts, it's the frequency that stays in our body and everything else leaves. So we want that to be healing, to heal ourselves from the inside out.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your testimonial, Jennifer. And this is just one of many testimonials of someone who is willing to take massive personal action, right? And to follow a perfect day lifestyle. Change 1% every day. Just think of where you'd be in 100 days, right? And take back that control of your health. This could be you to take that first step, that first leap of faith, and believe that all things are possible with God, right? And once again, I'm Susan Baruso here at New Orleans Health and Healing Center in Metairie, Louisiana, just outside of New Orleans. And my phone number is 504-338-6456. My email is susanbarusocchc@gmail.com. My website is New Orleans Health and Healing.com, and it's actually under construction. Will be up in a couple weeks. And I want to just thank you for being here and sharing your heart.
Me.
She is a beacon of light, and her testimonial will be a catalyst to let you all know that you can do this, right? Just believe in yourself. So thanks for joining us. Y'all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening. Love y'all. Hugs and kisses to all.